Most students don't struggle because they are not smart. They struggle because they don't know how to stay productive consistently for 4 to 6 years. Hello everyone, welcome to Cyberkit. If you are pursuing a PhD or if you are thinking of getting one, then this channel is the right platform for you and I hope to help you navigate it in the right way. In my previous videos, I talked about the PhD application process and also ways or things that you need to consider for choosing the right mentor for you. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to stay productive during your PhD program without burning out. So the first thing that I would like to talk about is productivity myth. So what does that mean? Some of the students think that working for long hours means you are being productive. But in academia, you might spend hours reading literature, you might spend hours analyzing the data, sitting in meetings, but still you may feel that your research is not moving forward. Real productivity in a PhD is actually taking care of those things that matter for your PhD. So now the important thing is defining progress. One of the hardest parts of a PhD program is that nobody clearly defines what progress actually looks like. So you end up feeling unproductive even after working for too long or working for hours. So in my case, I started defining what progress looks like for myself. Suppose if I'm working on an experiment, if I'm done with that experiment, means one experiment done. If I'm analyzing my data, then data analyzed. If I'm writing some sections of the manuscript, then one section is done. So that way when I defined my progress, then it started training my brain that okay, this is what progress actually is, which actually matters for my PhD program. Because if you don't define progress, your brain will always make you feel that you are behind. So the another important thing is deep work. So when I say work, there are two kinds of work. I categorize it as deep work and shallow work. So in shallow work, it's all about maybe responding to an email or doing some admin work. But in deep work, it's more about designing an experiment, performing an experiment, and maybe analyzing the data or writing a section of the manuscript. So you don't need like 10 hours a day, just spending on the deep work. At least you have to make 3 to 5 hours of your schedule just assigned to doing the deep work and maybe an hour or so for the shallow work. Another important thing is systems over motivation. Motivation is unreliable, especially during a PhD program. You will have days when you are motivated and there will be days when nothing works. So instead of relying on motivation, you need to build a system that will help you move forward. So for example, you can write for 1 hour every day that goes directly into your dissertation or your manuscript. Another thing is like, you can plan your week on Sundays so that, when you go lab on Monday, then you can simply do the task that you have planned. It will be very beneficial if you can do it the day prior so that early morning when you go to the lab, you can simply just start working on the experiments or on the things that you have planned to work on that particular day. There is another important thing that comes along with that is reducing the decision fatigue, because one hidden productivity killer, I would say, is decision fatigue. Because if you go to the lab and think like, what should I be working on today, what experiments shall I be running, what shall I be writing, then that uncertainty is itself draining your energy. Having said that, also it is important to accept the slow phases during your PhD, because not every day is going to be, working for you, or not every day you will have successful experiment. Then you need to just sit, you need to think what is not actually working rather than worrying about it a lot. And also I think taking breaks in between helps a lot. So you can just have someone from a lab or someone, your friends, you can just go for coffee breaks and if you want, you can discuss about your work to them so that you can get their perspective and you can have some solution to the problem that you are facing. So I used to do that. I used to have some friends with whom I used to go to the cafeteria regularly and just discuss if any issues I was having with my experiments. And from that discussion also I used to get some ideas like, okay, I can do this particular experiment in this particular way. So that small hint also helps a lot in troubleshooting your problem, and also you'll not feel that you're losing your mind. So that brings to my another point, which is protecting your energy. So as I mentioned, taking breaks, because productivity is not just about time, it's about your energy. If you burn out, then your productivity, it not only reduces, it collapses. So it's very important that you protect your energy. That means you are increasing your productivity, staying consistent with that motivation within yourself and following that system that I talked about. I think that helps a lot. Another important thing I would like to talk about is involvement on campus or off campus, because that will not only help you to have a time which is out from your lab, you can think about something else, but also will give you ample opportunities to network with people, to network with other scientists and researchers, which are very, very important when you are pursuing PhD. And even after that, that networking can bring numerous other collaborations, and you might be collaborating with people for their work. You might be getting co-authorship in their papers, and also you can have some techniques if you want to include within your PhD work. Then you can have that through that network and collaboration. So another maybe the final tip for staying productive during the PhD is having a clear communication with your advisor and with your lab member, because if you are going through something personal or professional, you need to let your advisor know about it, because you are working under them. you know it gives them chance to be considerate if needed, and if you are going through something, they'll help you in the best possible manner. I think a good advisor always does that. So you need to at least let them know, rather than bottling up the stress within yourself, because you need to understand that getting a PhD is a two-way process. It's about your good work, and also it's the mentorship that you get from your advisor. In the absence of one, you cannot succeed in your PhD. So that's all for today. If you found this video helpful, then please subscribe to my channel Cyvocate, and let me know in the comments what's your biggest productivity struggle and during your PhD, and we can have a discussion on that.